She awakened late when she was already in high school. The problem is that it happened while she was in the middle of class. She lost control, and most of her friends got seriously hurt. But even so, she believed in herself, and she wasn't going to let anyone intimidate her, especially because she regained control and managed to survive that. All she has to do is try hard so something like that doesn't happen again. Then he remembers when she spoke to Sion, who is the fairy of dreams, and asks if there wasn't a crying stone there before and how it moved. The fairy explains that she just talked to it and the stone went away. Yeah, it really was a crying stone, and now it makes sense. And the fairy explains that she shared her pain with the stone, and with that it felt better and left, because that stone, the clouds, and people all shared the same tears. And that's how many friendships were formed. So he unsmiled and said she was right. All she has to do is try. While they were thinking about heading back to the room, an attack happens and grabs their attention. They followed it and of course end up right in the middle of the protagonist's fight. At the moment when Subin was talking about the Mapo incident 7 years ago, Sion replied that no one blamed the father because he wasn't at fault back then. He had his reasons and it was necessary. Right when the guy shouted that his sister died and his father was a murderer, Sion was startled and hid, trying to understand what they were talking about. She only clearly heard that 7 years ago, her father had killed Subin's sister. Then the guy asked why Sion wanted to become a hunter. The protagonist responds that he already knows Subin wants to be a hunter who saves everyone. But he, on the other hand, never even thought about what kind of hunter he wants to become. And he knows that a lot of people on this boat think the same way he does. But regardless of whether he had a goal or not, if he was taking it seriously and giving it his best, that's what mattered in the end. But that just makes Subin even angrier, who says that they're completely different from each other. He went in again, but our boy managed to dodge, grabbed his stomach and throw him to the ground. This Subin guy isn't right in the head either, man. Out of nowhere he starts screaming. A laser shoots up from him, tearing through the clouds. Then one of the spirits comes right up to our boy's face and sends him to the ground. But he notices something strange. The spirits were starting to disappear. And once again, Sion comes back, man, but now lands a hit right in the middle of his face. That's when he realizes that out of nowhere someone had placed a power seal on his arm. For sure, it was when our boy went in and grabbed him by the stomach, right? What he can't understand is why a mere student had something like that. Obviously, right, the bastard stole everything from his dad. And then our boy says that in the end he's still getting beat up a lot. Angry, Subin comes at him again while his sister is wondering what they're going to do. Then someone appears next to the two of them asking what's going on. In the middle of the fight, Subin was wondering what's up with this person who has such a meaningless goal, taking things so seriously. He says that regardless of the goal, what mattered was what he did. That was completely wrong. They were not the same at all. Then Subin remembers the day of that dance when he woke up in a desert in the middle of nowhere, man. Around him worked outless bodies in a bunch of dead and buried people. That day he ran endlessly through the ruins, wondering why that happened to him. What kind of coincidence made him deserve that hell? The ground was soaked in blood, but the stars were shining like never before. He stumbles, crashes to the ground and wonders why no one helped him in that tragedy. If they were hunters, they should have helped everyone there. Then he sees an illusion of himself older, saying that he would become the person he needed. Someone who would save everyone. And now he's remembering Sonia and saying that they're the same. But he was sure that if that wasn't true, then they were completely different. That's because he always wondered why hunters with the best powers always only use them for selfish desires. He then tells Sonia that he needed to take all of this more seriously. Sonia, though, just replies that learning responsibility and why he wants to be a hunter is the reason he's there. They stare at each other for a moment when suddenly they both hear something to the side and look. A really weird guy had fired a shot into the air and our boy asks who he is. We see a bit earlier that it was Parim who had arrived, man. Asking what the two were doing and why they didn't just stop already. He comments that they could get hurt, and just then Sodium remembers the guy she killed. Her old calm down now. But she's calm, saying it was best to stop them right away. Pareem asks how and she says just stop, the two of the men just get in the way and they'll stop. But the guy says that a fight between skilled people is like jumping into a shootout. Then Sawyer imagines that if she jumps into the middle of the fight, it can end up activating her powers, which would be even worse. The kid then looks at her and tells her to stay there, but he'll handle it. The weapon he pulls is a magical tool he had. And that's how he fired the shot and made it go off. All this drama just for this kid to fire a shot into the air and try to give both of them a moral lesson. Luckily, right after that, Shi-young shows up from behind and asks if he really fired a weapon. As far as he remembers, magical tools aren't allowed in the academy or on the boat, so the three of them would have to go through discipline. Next scene with the boat stopping at the island, Man, Woojin says he lost. Even he, who's considered one of the worst students, hadn't gotten a disciplinary penalty before arriving at the school. Sawyer does apologizing to Pareem, who says it's fine, and in the end, it's his fault for firing the weapon. Besides that, the weapon he brought was something the teachers asked him to develop, so the situation wasn't going to be that bad for him. But then, he looks at our boy and says that for them, things were going to be worse. Either way, they deal with that later. It was time to head to the dorms. She thinks it's weird because she thought she'd be staying near Somnian, and he explains that actually, on this island, there are several dorms scattered all over. That's when Sawyer starts getting scared of being near that Midju girl. Then the girls take a look at their phones and see that at least she and her brother are in the same dorm. Right when he says the name of the place, which is really weird, someone drops their suitcase on the ground. It was Subin, and obviously, from the look on their faces, he must be in the same one. They just stand there looking dumbfounded until a woman shows up saying hi and introduces herself as Yoon, and that she's the supervisor of their dorm. Sawyer starts to relax a bit, at least that strange girl isn't with her. And Mojin says that apparently they're together again, so it's going to be great. Considering she's with her brother and her only friend, she's sure the semester is starting off well. Then we see about 100 years ago, in a chaotic era when monsters devoured people and users of evil abilities roamed the world freely. That's when a man had the idea to create an educational center for ability users. After some years, and avoiding the eyes of the authorities, he created a small school by himself on an isolated island. Some time later, it became known as the Hunter School. In that place, nationality, age or education didn't matter. As long as you've had an ability and were awakened, you could be part of it. Ah, man, don't give us that fake marketing. We already know that if someone sucks, you kick them out. Even though the island seems small, the big difference with the school is that the whole island was the school man. Not only did it have quality materials and really good training areas, but also a vast amount of information. The infrastructure there was as advanced as a big city. And what made that possible was that every hunter who dreamed of becoming strong saw that place as the sanctuary of education. And that's when Sawyer was arriving, who had no idea of the prestige of the place, and thought she was just arriving at some ordinary school. She's getting ready, and our boy shows up telling her that the entrance ceremony was about to begin. And so the first semester of the first year begins. Man got a weird feeling, because this story already blew a guy up in half, and now everything's super calm, you know. I'm sensing danger and chaos coming. Day of the ceremony in a dorm room, our boys there saying that she finally arrived. It's Sawyer, and he wants to know where the other person is. Moden explains that Sabin was still getting ready to go to the thing, and man, the boy's a bit off, right? Who needs to get ready for a ceremony? She says it's obvious he needs to get ready, especially because he's this year's refreshment representative. And then there's Subin, man, swearing in the name of 2,625 new students that they would follow all the school's rules. Our boy wonders how the guy who got disciplined before even arriving on the island was now the representative, but he's forced to admit that if he's the rep, then at the very least he must have one of the best Haylans. That water cannon he saw shoot up into the sky showed that he had the ability to deal as much damage as an A rank. But what if they hadn't fought on the boat while was raining? Or if he hadn't also prepared that power seal and thing, he knows that if Sabin had gone all out from the start, his chances of winning would have been way lower. But the thing is, like his dad said, he doesn't just have to survive. He has to get into the student council. He didn't have time to be happy